in a great quote by Rick Rubin, he says, if you're listening or speaking, either way, you're participating in the conversation. So today, you're here, you're a part of this conversation, and however you want to be a part of it, we welcome you to do that. And Nathan, what's new with DORA?
Hey, thanks, Amanda, and hi, everyone. My name is Nathan Harvey. I lead up DORA here with Google Cloud, and so I want to share a couple of things that are new with DORA recently. Maybe this isn't new, but maybe it is. We, about a month and a half ago or so, released the impact of generative AI in software development. It's our latest report that covers, well, the impact of generative AI in software development, as it says on the tin. If you haven't had a chance to read that, I definitely recommend it. It's a really great read and maybe gives you some insights into some things that you and your organization can do to really start getting the most out of generative AI. Also new on DORA.dev, we have an opportunity for your organization to sponsor the 2025 research. You can find out more information about that at dora.dev/sponsors. And if you or your company are interested in sponsoring our research this year, please do reach out. We're trying to close out those sponsorship opportunities within the next couple of weeks, so time is limited on those. Speaking of things where time is limited, we also have a limited amount of time during which you can nominate your organization or your team for a Google Cloud DORA Award. The DORA Awards are an opportunity for us to celebrate you, celebrate how your organization is taking insights and lessons from the DORA research and putting them into practice. We want to celebrate the experiences that you're having, the progress that you're making, and so forth. There is a little caveat here. These are the Google Cloud DORA Awards, so they're really only open to customers or users of Google Cloud. So if that's not you, I'm sorry, you can't win one of these awards, but we can still celebrate your amazing achievements in putting the research into practice. Thank you for doing so. And maybe there are other ways that the community can help amplify some of the success that you're having. I think that's it for me, so I'm going to turn things back over to you, Amanda.
Awesome. Thank you, Nathan. And a great way that we could celebrate your work, if you're not using Google Cloud maybe yet, is we can celebrate you here in the community. If you want to kick off a conversation by sharing how you're using the DORA research, we would truly appreciate that. So please reach out to us to get that scheduled. So today, I'm very excited to have one of our DORA guides, Steve Fenton, kick off this discussion around user centricity. Steve is always an active member here, both in the mailing list, but also in our community discussions. And if you're connected with him or follow him on LinkedIn, or you're probably on all the social, Steve, but I think I see a trend in the content that you create and the message that you bring for all of us. And so very excited to hear how you kind of help us think more about being more user-centric. With that, I'll pass it over to Steve.
I'm going to try and keep the discussion part, try and keep this presentation really short so we can get onto the lean coffee discussion, because the thing I love about this community is when everyone starts sharing their own experiences, we all get to learn so much. So I will skip past the agenda just to say I'm going to talk about software delivery performance, everyone wanting to speed things up, and where user centricity fits into this, along with a couple of really quick traps that you can fall into with user centricity. So as Amanda said, I'm Steve. I work at Optimus Deploy, and I'm a DORA community guide. I have followed the research for ages, and I'm a super fan. And I actually think we're in a new era of actually checking our opinions now, which is like a new thing. So I think that's a good thing. And one of the things that we've got from the DORA research is software delivery performance. And most people have heard of the DORA 4 key metrics. And on this chart, which is from the 2024 report, we mostly want to be this light blue team along the bottom of the chart, where we have short change lead times, we deploy frequently, we don't fail too much, and if we do fail, we can recover quickly. And these have captured everyone's imagination, because we also know that if we kind of have things like those 4 keys, we end up having better outcomes as an organization. So we make more money, we have a better market share, or whatever it is that your organization is trying to do. Now, that means there's been this huge pressure, even from outside your development team, for you to go faster. And a lot of organizations are trying to build this dragster team where they can just deliver really quickly. And the problem with dragsters is they're really good in a straight line, but if you try and turn them, only bad things happen. So this isn't what we really want to be like. When we do this, we're being like a feature factory where we've already got this big list of things that we plan on building, and we are just trying to get to the bottom of that list, get it all finished. And this is like a shared delusion that a lot of us have in software, which is called trying to complete infinity. And I've been there, I've worked there with a big list of things, and I think if I can just move a bit faster, I can get to the end of this list. But there is no end to the list, it just keeps on going. So that's why I was quite pleased in the 2024 report to find out that speed isn't really the only thing that we're after. I wrote an article about it where I said that Richard Feynman went to look at improving the safety for the storage of highly explosive materials. And he found that if you put too many of these materials together, they could spontaneously blow up. And it's kind of the same when we're making changes to our software. If we put too many changes together, they become quite volatile. So we actually want to kind of flow each change out individually. That's how we're going to reduce that risk of explosion. And small batches are great because they reduce that risk. But they also give us something else which is better than just speed, which is the ability to change direction. We all need to be a bit more gazelle. Now, a gazelle is slower than a cheetah by about 20 miles an hour, but its primary defense when it's being chased by a cheetah is to keep changing direction very rapidly. And whilst the cheetah can go very fast in a straight line, once the gazelle kind of changes direction, it's hard to react quickly enough to catch it. So that's mainly how gazelles survive when they're being chased by cheetahs. So that's the goal. So we want to be able to change direction, not just move quickly. But the key to this is having a good reason to change direction. And that's where user-centricity comes in. Because the reason for us to change direction should be that we are learning from our users telling us what they feel about the software that we've just given them. So each time we give them a new feature, we're listening to hear whether that feature is working. And we're listening out to find out if that's the right problem for us to be solving. Because very often what we think is important isn't what the users think is important. Now, this chart, which again is from the 2024 DORA report, shows this orange line along the top is a team with very high user centricity. They can be delivering features more slowly than other teams, but their product still outperforms those other teams. And one way of thinking about this is, say they only produce 2 features, whilst another team has very quickly put out 6 features. Those 2 features are both hits, whereas the 6 features that have been put out by another team, mostly the users don't really care about them. So by improving the user centricity, you actually don't need to deliver so many features to have a great product. So that's the kind of key to this. But then we need to have a quick checkpoint here, because just listening to your users isn't really what user centricity is about. Now, we do want to listen to our users, but we also have to bear in mind there are 2 types of user. And I'll quickly label this diagram to show the 2 types. We have our users, and then we have that user, the one with the megaphone. If you're not careful, you end up exclusively developing features for that user, right? We definitely don't want to do that. We want to make sure we hear the quiet people too, especially because they're usually the majority. So that's the first trap we want to avoid. The second trap is that users are going to say, I would like a button, and when I click on it, I want it to do this, right? And they're telling you about the feature they want developed. And you need to try and step back away from that and find out what their underlying need really is. That's what we want to satisfy. So we want to take the user input and we want to learn their problems, learn their pains, and then come up with some ideas that are going to solve that really gracefully. And this is important because people aren't really just buying software. They want to buy your opinion, like you'll have some novel way of solving it. That's what they're really paying for, rather than the lines of code. And it also means that we want to get rid of a lot of the paper cuts from our software, because that's just frustrating people. And that often gets missed in the mix. So I'll very quickly give you a couple of suggestions for how we can do this. So when a user says something like, I need a button that does a thing, we just need to be super curious about that and say, why do you need that? What is it that you're doing now? What does the future look like after you've got this button? And try and understand what underlying thing is being solved by this button. You probably don't need a button. You probably need something else. And when you have these conversations, not just with one user, but across many users, you're more likely to get that swimming pool of ideas that will result in your eureka moment, which is when you think about solving a whole bunch of problems for a whole bunch of users with some really graceful small feature. And you kind of have to do that by talking to your users, not finding out secondhand through your sales team or your support team. If you can, you need to have those direct conversations. And that's kind of weird. I've been a developer and I know that that's like a weird thing to do. But once you get into the habit of doing it, you actually do develop better software. So be curious, try and gain that deeper understanding of what your users need, and create an opinionated solution for that. And then just as part of creating an opinionated solution, you probably do need to create some kind of escape hatch for people who only want 90% of your opinion, which does happen. So I spoke fast. I've managed to get this in about 10 minutes. So that means hopefully now we can move on to the lean coffee session. We always run out of time for questions, but hopefully we'll get through a few more today.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.